Hey everybody, welcome to Ash Talk for January 12th, 2022. This is your host, Ash Ryan, with you, and I'll be here for the next hour talking about what's going on in gaming, in pop culture, and in the world in general, according to what you have been talking about on our Discord server, in the comments sections on our videos, whatever ways you've been interacting with us. This is our community-focused show where we talk about basically what's on your mind. And so I asked for topics. And I also just kind of keep an eye on what everybody's talking about on the Discord server. And that's how I pick the topics for this show. And so hopefully it's interesting. Pre-recorded again. And the reason for that is I'm just trying to make the best show possible here. And I have felt that the live streams where it's just me talking and blathering on for an hour haven't been going that well. So the pre-recorded, I feel, just lets me add that bit of extra polish to it. So, I mostly treat it like a live stream still, but it gives me a chance to refresh my mind and, review my notes between topics, that kind of thing. But let me know what you think. In the comments, I want to hear if you'd rather I go back to doing the live show format, or if you prefer this, or if you maybe want some of one and some of the other. Anyway, hope everybody's January is going well out there. Hope you're having a great start to your new year, and hope you're in good spirits on this Wednesday, and we'll try to keep your spirits up as we go through the show today. So, as I said, I've been requesting topics from everybody, and you all want me to talk about NFTs again, and Cyb wants me to talk about NFTs again. So we're going to be talking about NFTs again, but first we're going to talk about a couple other things. But let me just, as we get started here, let me just say, if you're new to the Triple S League, please do slam that like button here on the Triple S Podcasts channel, and then also look in the description for all kinds of links to our other things. We've got another channel called the Triple S League. You can find all kinds of great different types of content over there. We do it's all gaming content, but we do guides, we do reviews, we do comedy stuff, and you can find all of that over there. Plus, you can find a link in the description to the Discord server where you can chat with us, those of us who own and operate the Triple S League. Plus, you can meet some great people. We've got a great community there. Also, let me just say, please do slam that like button. It likes it rough. And that one goes out to Jasmine. Saw your comment on the previous video, last week's show, that you missed the catchphrase. So I'll see about bringing it back. It's one of those things that just kind of slipped out of my brain as we changed podcast formats a little bit. But anyway, that's enough blabbing out of me. Let's get to the topics that you guys wanted to talk about. So this one from Notional says, any news on BioShock or Cyberpunk stuff? How about you talk about how there's no news about those games? Well, first of all, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? No Cyberpunk news. I mean, there's a Mr. Bean mod for Cyberpunk 2077, and it's all anyone seems to be able to talk about these days. This is clearly going to bring to the game what's been missing. And, if they had put this in at the start, clearly we wouldn't have had the issues we had. There he is right there. This is... I haven't watched this, okay? I literally just started this video. That's very impressive. So okay, is this seriously a mod? Or, because it looks like one of those, one of those videos where they put, they take a character from a show or movie or whatever, put them into a video game or into another show or whatever. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Very impressive work. I haven't, the rest of this article is about like everything except this mod. So I don't know. That was just the hook, I guess. Yeah, this is not a mod. Using a series of game mods and footage from the Mr. Bean TV series and movie, the short video posted to YouTube shows Mr. Bean in a variety of Night City locations and set pieces. So, bottom line, this was a pointless tangent. But as far as real Cyberpunk 2077 news, we have another veteran leaving the company. I mean, we don't know why all these people are leaving the company, okay? I mean, is it because of Cyberpunk 2077? I don't know. Probably not in all cases, but there's a lot of conspicuous timing that there's been just a whole lot of high-level departures people leave and join companies all the time. So I don't know how much we can actually glean from this. We'd have to look at some statistical data and see, like is the level of departures from Cyberpunk or from CD Projekt Red after Cyberpunk 2077, is it above normal? It just certainly seems to be a lot lately. But anyway, so this design director is leaving. Plus, there's been some rumors about the 1.5 patch and how basically the 1.5 patch is going to be this soft relaunch known as Cyberpunk 2077 Samurai Edition. But major grain of salt required here, because, we're talking about rumors that basically originated on either a site like 4chan or something, one of those posting sites. So who knows? And I personally, I don't really want to dive into the rumor mill for Cyberpunk 2077. That's something that's fun to do when there's hype, but there's no hype for this anymore. Honestly, I don't even see the point of talking about it. I'll wait for the actual info to come out and then decide if I'm going to get back into the game. Now, with the next generation version of Cyberpunk 2077 supposedly coming out sometime, I believe, this year, and it's, so there's going to be this next generation launch for next generation systems, which, those of us who already own the game will be receiving at no additional cost, that kind of thing. But I wouldn't be surprised if they treat that as a soft relaunch. However, it's are they going to call it Samurai Edition? I certainly hope not, because that sounds kind of dumb. As for BioShock 4, of course, the rumor mill has been spinning rather heavily with BioShock 4. There's been a setting leak. There's the GeForce Now thing, which really doesn't tell us anything concrete. A job listing reveals that maybe it's being developed in Unreal Engine 5, which would be pretty cool. There's a rumor that it might be a PS5 exclusive. And, that comes from comicbook.com. And, more clues as far as, clues given by more job listings point to a new setting. So it says, several jobs listings asks, we want you to help us breathe life into a new and fantastical world, which suggests the game will have a new setting and not a return to Rapture or Columbia. I don't think that necessarily means that. I don't think that's a conclusion that you can draw from that. First of all, games can be a lot bigger now, so you can have these classic settings plus new stuff as well. And it says, together we will set the stage for a stunning narrative and systems-driven experience. There's another job listing related to AI that I want to read you in a minute, but first let's read this settings leak, this possible setting leak from Colin Moriarty, who says, so the Sacred Symbols, which I believe is a podcast run by Colin Moriarty, he says he has some info that BioShock 4 will take players to a fictional city in the Antarctic in the 1960s, which would be a concurrent timeline to the first two games in the series. And apparently this has been corroborated by VGC and Eurogamer, so that's pretty interesting, citing anonymous sources. So, it sounds like there might be a little bit more to this one than say to the Cyberpunk 2077 Samurai Edition leak. It takes place in the 1960s Antarctic city called Borealis. The game is codenamed Parkside. I've been told that the development team has incredible latitude to get it right. That seems and sounds right to me. Internally, the game is very secret and apparently totally locked up. apparently the inclination there is that they understand full well that this game will be compared to what the original BioShock creator Ken Levine does. And by the way, Take-Two is also publishing Levine's next game. Take-Two also being the publisher of BioShock. So Ken Levine, the original creator of BioShock, is not directly working on this game. But he has his own new studio, and he is working on something new, and has been for many years now. That was basically, his project was supposed to be out in 2017. And if I just check my watch, it is a little bit past that now. And as a result, we have Jason Schreier writing a hit piece, basically. And I call it that. First of all, that's just my opinion. I mean, it's my own personal, non-suable opinion that this is a hit piece. But I call it that because, not just because it makes this guy look bad. You know, it's not just because a set of facts are laid out that cast a negative light on Ken Levine or what's going on at his studio, but because this thing is dripping with slant and with Schreier's own interpretations and biases about what's going on. It is so painfully obvious. I'll show you a blatant example of it where he doesn't even try to hide it later on in the article. Now, that doesn't mean that what's factually presented here is false. That doesn't mean that at all. However, it is very difficult with the vague sourcing and as is Schreier's MO to cite anonymous sources that are currently and formerly working at the studio. That it's very difficult to separate what is fact from what is Schreier's own interpretation of the fact. There are places where he gives quotes from his sources, and there are some named sources here. You know, I don't want to be unfair to Schreier either, but in my opinion, this is a sloppy work of journalism, because while there is enough factual research-based stuff in it that you could call it journalism, it definitely veers off course quite a bit as far as what journalism is. There's editorializing, there is Schreier's own opinions being inserted, and how much even what's stated factually as being said by some of the sources are being, a lot of it's being restated, and how much of Schreier's own interpretation is being inserted into that, it's impossible to say. Now, that said, that I'm not saying that there aren't problems with Ken Levine's studio, and obviously something's gone wrong with the game, and actually, I mean, you can look at the history of the studios that Ken's worked with, and yeah, there's definitely been a lot of turmoil. You have, half of the founding members of the studio have left now. On the flip side, there's a bunch of people who are still working with him after a lot of years. I would be interested to hear from them in the interest of objectivity. But anyway, so there's obviously there's some sort of issue. Like there's some big issues. I mean, you can paint a picture just from the factual evidence. You can paint a picture of, Mr. Levine as a guy who is very difficult to work with, a perfectionist, a guy who likes to micromanage every aspect of things and wants everything to be perfect, and is prone to scrapping big chunks of work. If it's not quite right, or not having a fully formulated vision. That's problematic. That really is. Of course, that is not uncommon either in the game development industry. We've covered many examples of that. That happens at that happens in a lot of places. Not to say that it's okay, but yeah, I mean, trying to be balanced here on what's true and what's objectively true and what is subject to interpretation from what's written here. And honestly, it's difficult to it's difficult to tease those things apart. But I'll give you some examples of what I'm talking about, though, as far as how vague and interpretive some of this is. Development has suffered from numerous reboots and changes in direction, say 15 current and former employees of Levine's studio Ghost Story Games. Okay, so apparently 15, if I'm understanding this correctly, 15 people have said that there's been reboots, changes in direction that have caused this project, which began in 2014 and was originally supposed to be released in 2017, and also, still under the umbrella of Take-Two. Take-Two is publishing this game, and I believe owns the studio. It's 2022 now, and this game is still not out, and we don't really know anything about it, except for what Ken's vision for it was, which was that, his idea is something that he calls narrative Legos, which basically he wants to create a game where the experience will be different for different players, that you have these narrative blocks that can fit together in a whole bunch of different ways and create a whole bunch of different stories, so that, your experience playing the game will be different from mine, my experience will be different from Cyb's, etc. So you'll have these different, a completely different experience every time you play the game, which is a cool idea. Very ambitious idea for sure. And it's definitely something that takes a lot of innovation for sure. But Schreier goes on to say, just as critics grant Levine credit for the artistry of his games, many Ghost Story employees readily blame him for their tortured project. Levine is a flawed manager who often struggles to communicate his vision and alienates or browbeats subordinates who challenge him or fail to meet his expectations, say current and former employees, most of whom requested anonymity because they feared repercussions. Here's what I mean about the vagueness of this. How many current and former employees are saying this? You told us 15 current and former employees told us about the reboots and changes. How many are saying this? And are these their words or are they Schreier's words? We just don't know. Like a big budget movie, games can require a crew of thousands to produce. Although creative leaders deserve some of the praise they receive, the adulation can mask managerial flaws and set unrealistic expectations. And this is absolutely 100% true. This can be an issue. The creative mind behind a project isn't necessarily a good manager. It doesn't really know. That doesn't mean they know how to manage the project that's required to create that creative vision. And so it always has to be collaborative. And so it is not a good thing when the creative mind on the project may not, to have too much control is not a good thing on a big project like this. I mean, it's one thing if you're a one-person show and creating an indie game by yourself, then you have 100% creative control and you're managing the project. And if you manage it well, you might get it out the door. But when you're getting to the point where and you can kind of recognize your own limitations and realize that if you don't cut back on your perfectionism, then your project might not get out the door. And believe me, I struggle with that all the time. But when you're managing, when you're working with other people, and when you're managing other people, and us creative types really do have trouble with this, you worry about delegating. You worry about, delegating becomes hard. Giving up control is hard, because then what if it's not done right or the way you envision it? And you really have to learn to give up that control and realize, okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be exactly the way I picture it in my mind. Those of us who create things have to learn that that's very true. And so to be given more power, or to be given ultimate power over a project, and to not be to not be trained, I guess, on how project management actually has to be done, or to not have somebody by your side who has the experience, who has your trust, who can say, okay, we've got to rein this in here. Your ideas are great, but you've got to rein this in because this is getting too big. You need that. You absolutely need that if you're working on a big project. And so this is what I mean. Like, these problems do pop up at studios, and probably, it really does sound like that is the case with Levine's studio. But it sounds like Levine is being, because of his past success with BioShock and the other projects he's been working on, that he's created something so fantastic. Take-Two is giving him a ton of leeway and a ton of control, betting, as Schreier says here, that he will eventually deliver. The publisher gives Levine. How have I been saying it? Somebody is going to mock me in the comments for not pronouncing his name consistently. I think it's Levine. So that's how I'm going to say it. The publisher gives Levine a level of autonomy afforded a few game designers. Some of his former employees say the lack of oversight seemed idyllic at first, but became detrimental to their work and mental well-being. Take-Two likely tolerates all of this for the same reason many people have flocked to work at a rational and ghost story of the past 2 decades, because an auteur is capable of producing something magnificent. But Levine's managerial style has led to burnout, and former employees say caused a lot of pain. Again, I want to know how many people are saying this. And again, I'm not saying that this isn't true, or that these employees aren't saying this. But, Schreier starts out here saying, 15 people told me this. So you have that number in your head as you're reading the rest of it and thinking, 15 people are saying all of this. Well, no. This might have been 2 people. You know what I mean? And this is what I mean when I say this is kind of sloppy. This is sloppy journalism. So neither Take-Two or Levine responded to a request for comment on this article, or in Levine's case, an interview. But Schreier references a 2013 interview where Levine talked about his working style and said, if it's not right, it goes. It's not without cost, but I find that the people who are most experienced at irrational, that was his former studio, or the former name of the studio, tend to be most comfortable with throwing stuff away. The thing is, again, to apply that statement to what's going on now, I mean, this is always the case. In any project, you have to throw stuff away. So this was lesson 1 in design school. And I'm speaking from my personal experience here. You have to, not everything you create is going to be great. Not every aspect of the project is going to work. Sometimes you have to remove and toss aside things that you spent hours working on. Now, it can definitely go overboard, for sure. But again, where is this is not different from how things go at pretty much any studio. So it's baffling to me. Just the idea that this is somehow unusual. There's just so much that's being said here that, again, is part and parcel for the game development project, and that is could be applied to almost anywhere in game development. Again, not to say that there aren't big problems happening at Levine's studio, but it kind of feels to me like Schreier's trying to pad it out with all this extra stuff that's really not relevant, or that really is like, well, what does that have to do with this? Why are you pointing this out? Of course, you need to. Like, this is just a statement about how anything gets designed. There's always cost. There's always some loss. There's always some things that got worked on for a long time that get tossed out the window. It's unfortunate. It's painful as a creator. It's painful as someone, if you're the person who made that thing that got cut at the end. But it's not wasted work. First of all, often you have to create those things in order to figure out that doesn't work and try and figure out a way to do it better on the next iteration. But also, it's just what happens. And so, like, this statement, the statement itself doesn't explain anything. I guess I find Schreier's not making his point very clear here. Okay, skipping down a little ways here, just because I don't have the time to. I can't go through this line by line, paragraph by paragraph. There's a lot in here, and again, it does paint a picture of I just want to be clear. There's obviously some troubled development happening with Levine's new project. Levine's new project. Oh, son of a gun. Okay, Levine's new project. But I want to read this section because this really points out the problem I have with this article. One constant on Levine's project is that he never seems content. Levine studied drama and was taught that the process for achieving greatness was to keep rewriting until everything was perfect. Citation, please. I searched for this. I could not find anything. Where does this come from? That this next sentence, that he originally wanted to be a screenwriter. I mean, that was easy to find. That he tried to work as a screenwriter, but this idea, where does this come from? That it was his studying of drama and that you have to keep rewriting until everything's perfect. Like, where are you getting that from, Jason? Then the late film critic Andrew Saris introduced the auteur theory to much of the world in the 1960s, adapting an idea from French New Wave cinema. It describes a filmmaker who controls so many aspects of a production that he becomes akin to the author of a novel or play. The theory was used to dissect the works of Orson Welles and Alfred Hitchcock and became an aspiration for generations of creative minds. In Levine's interpretation, auteurism has meant discarding months of work, much to his staff's dismay. Sidebar: What are you saying here? This is Levine's interpretation of auteurism. This is how it outflow. Like, this is the most baffling sentence in the article. That it's because he can be considered an auteur, that's why he discards months of work. Is it that discarding months of work makes him an auteur? This is Levine's interpretation of being an auteur, and if that's the case, where did that come from? This makes no sense. This whole section here, just nothing but Schreier's personal interpretation and opinion of what's going on here. Like, this is factual, but he's applying it to the whole situation and saying this is why this is happening. This is where Levine's mind is at. This is where his motivations and what his drive is. This is why he thinks this. This is garbage. This is not journalism. This is just opinion slant editorial schlock. And this is why I always take his journalism with a grain of salt. And you got to look for the slant. You have to look for the slant and kind of tilt your head to accommodate for it, if you catch my drift. So that's all I'm going to specifically say about Ken Levine right now. Whatever game he is working on is apparently going to be published by Take-Two, and they're obviously being very, very patient with him. But Take-Two also formed and owns a studio that is working on BioShock 4, and that is not the game that's being created by Ken Levine. And I'm not sure if I've been pronouncing his name consistently throughout this. I don't know if I've said Levine at some point and maybe Levine at some points. So go ahead and ruthlessly mock me in the comments if I've been saying it different ways. But I think this is the most interesting rumor. This is not a factual statement by any stretch. This should not be a. This is a pretty bold headline. Then the next BioShock will be an open world game. This is based on, unless I missed something here, this is based on a job posting for Cloud Chamber, which is the studio that's making BioShock 4. And they say they want somebody who can weave impactful, character-driven stories in an open world setting. So that does suggest that it's going in that way, but it's not something we can say with any kind of factual certainty at this point. But I want to know from those of you who are longtime BioShock fans, let me know what you think of it, of the series moving to an open world format. Do you think it can work? Do you think it'll work with the series? Do you think they should stick with the formula of the previous games? We've seen it work before. I believe it's worked with Halo. That doesn't necessarily mean it'll always work. So I want to know from you old school BioShock gamers what you think of that. What you would think if the next one is in an open world setting. And this is the other thing I found interesting from the job postings. Other clues about BioShock 4 can be found in other job postings. The video game AI programmer role, for instance, explains that the job will involve developing an urban crowd system and the systemic tribal ecology of a sometimes hostile AI. I don't know what that looks like, but it sounds really cool. As this article concludes, a more open world that's populated with an AI-driven ecology certainly sounds fascinating. It does sound fascinating. It really does sound fascinating. So, anyway, this is yet another article about it, but it is it covers a lot of the same stuff. But what we do know for sure is that it's a ways off yet. This game in 2019. Take-Two said they're going to be working on this for the next several years, which implies more than 2 years, which implies like 2022 at the earliest. Moriarty says that the game is apparently targeting a 2022 release, but I think it's a long ways off. I don't think that we're going to be seeing it this year. When they say several years, that strikes me as a longer period of time. But again, who knows? I mean, maybe they said that to throw people off the scent, as companies are known to do from time to time. By the way, on a related topic, Ghosty, our Ghost MD on our Discord server, asked about System Shock 3, and basically, like, we don't have any info on that at all. I asked Cyb about it. He said he doesn't really have any info on it, but he thinks maybe he suspects the game's dead, sadly, and dead in the water. But we don't know for sure anything. And then somebody also wanted to talk about Homeworld 3, and again, we don't have any inside baseball on this one. For all of these games, I talked to Cyb. I see if he has reached out to anybody and gotten any info on these games, but we don't have anything additional beyond what's available publicly in articles like this one. Everything we know about Homeworld 3, and we wouldn't go digging on this one, or I should say, even if we did have some inside info, we would not reveal it for fear of thugs showing up at our house. So let's just put it that way. We steer clear of Gearbox and Take-Two and 2K as far as going to gung-ho with the leaks and speculation, and even really covering their games usually, because of their track record of bullying content creators and destroying their YouTube channels. So that is something we're not going to be looking into. Anyway, Homeworld 3 is in the works. But again, nothing really to add there beyond what's already out there in the public. So here's something kind of weird and funny in a sad way. As I was recording the previous segment, someone came on, Yield Grognard, on our Discord server, came on and asked if I would talk about this. He pointed me to a particular video on YouTube where something interesting was going on in the comments section, and it looks like, I mean, spam bots are just getting way too sophisticated. Spam commenters. I mean, they're still obviously spam, but it's. I don't know. YouTube's going to have to up their game in terms of filtering these out, I guess. Not that they were doing any kind of a good job of it before, but what you see at the top of the screen here is a normal comment posted on this video, which was about some kind of EVGA board. So it was like a tech video or something. So you see they just write there, nice board, late. Would be nice to have more AMD boards from EVGA. Their build quality is always top notch. And what do you see directly below it? And these are all screen capped, by the way, and just censored out some of the content that would be, risk getting my video down, shadow banned and downplayed in the algorithm. But so, it's the exact same comment. So this bot just copied the comment word for word, so it sounds like a normal human written comment now, and the spam is actually in the commenter's name. Kelly just dying for you to check her profile because she's just aching for you, basically. And so same thing with the screenshots that you see on the bottom there. You see that on the left, those two, I didn't paste those together. I screen capped that directly. They were just right above one another. They, again, they're exactly the same, and they copied that text from another commenter. And then in the bottom right, you see it's even more absurd. It's four of the exact same comment in a row. And these were not sorted chronologically, so I don't know if they were all posted, but you see actually the bottom three all say 4 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours. So it sure looks like they were just posted bang, bang, bang. No pun intended. Yeah, so this is going to get annoying. This is really going to get annoying. I haven't seen this before, but let me know if you've encountered this, and write a really nice comment. Write a really nice comment below for the spam bots to copy, so that they can just. I mean, they're really not trying to spam. They're just trying to amplify the amazing things that everybody has to say in comment sections, and they're just trying to emulate human behavior. That's what an AI aspires to, isn't it? All right, so today's episode is definitely going to be going a little bit long and be releasing a little bit late. I apologize for that, but I have to squeeze this one in because it's a fascinating story. So, Bungie, the creators of Destiny 2, is suing Aim Junkies, which is a service that basically they sell cheat software. They sell cheat software and tools that help you cheat in games like Destiny 2, which is created by Bungie. Now, this is fascinating because Bungie is trying to go the copyright route, probably because they don't have any other recourse. They really the question that this comes down to, and the question that I wanted to raise as a point of discussion by bringing this up is, Is aimjunkies.com actually doing anything illegal, which is the question that you ask when you're taking somebody to court on something. Is this actually illegal? You can't just take someone to court because you don't like what they're doing. And trust me, I have no love for cheaters in online games or those that supply them the tools. It's one of the worst aspects of online gaming. Probably the worst aspect of online gaming are the cheaters. And so I have every bit of support for companies finding ways to ban and prevent cheating. However, they're not actually doing anything illegal. And that's kind of the defense that Aim Junkies coming back with. So just a little details about this. So the Aim Junkies, for example, sells a Destiny 2 hacks suite that specifically for for hacking and cheating in Destiny 2. So this is obviously why Bungie has an interest in this. So Bungie sued Aim Junkies last June, accusing them of copyright and trademark infringement, among other things. So this is the real question here. Are they really going after them for copyright and trademark infringement, or is that just an excuse to try and shut them down because they don't like something else they're doing? Now, obviously, if there is some copyright and trademark infringement happening, then Bungie has every right to sue and take them down. However, the defense is claiming that Bungie is misusing the law to go after cheaters, while cheating itself isn't unlawful. And it's not, nor should it be. That would be ridiculous. But so this is what they claim. The goal is clear from Bungie's complaint, where Bungie mentions that through its lawsuit, it hopes to put cheaters on notice that the game company will not tolerate cheating. So Bungie comes straight out and states their intention here. It's about the cheating. It's not about copyright infringement. It's about the cheating. So that really brings into question whether or not the legal process is being abused or used properly, or just being abused here. And actually, I don't think it brings into question. I think this pretty much, in my opinion, puts a nail on the coffin. They're misusing the legal process. If their intention is to squash cheating, that's not a legal. The legal avenue is not the direction you should take. I mean, it may be, if there is, again, like I said, if there's genuine copyright infringement or trademark infringement going on here, then a positive side effect of that might be that it shuts down some of the cheaters. But you're putting this right in your lawsuit that it's not actually about that; it's about something different, and I think that's where this goes off the rails. What's really going on here is that Bungie's transparent misuse of the legal system to achieve ends not actually permitted under laws actually passed by Congress is Bungie's transparent misuse of the legal system. So, they're trying to achieve an end. They're trying to put a stop to activity that's not illegal by using, by making a lawsuit against something that is illegal. So it's a de facto cheating lawsuit. Bungie apparently hopes to bamboozle this court into proscribing entirely lawful activities. This court should not be party to such questionable tactics and should apply the laws that actually exist, not those Bungie apparently conjures out of thin air. And I agree with this. But and again, I as much as I hate that I sound like I'm siding with this cheating website right now, like this service that enables people to cheat in games and frustrate legit players. I hate that I'm siding with them on this. I really, 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 really do. But the precedent that this would set is it would be devastating if Bungie won this suit. Because we don't want to allow these companies to go around misusing laws to, or selectively enforcing laws against people who are doing something else that they don't like. It's basically it's the abuse of the it's like the abuse of the copyright system on YouTube that happens constantly. If a company doesn't like the content that you're putting out, they don't like how you talked about them, they might maybe hit you with a copyright claim, whereas they wouldn't have done that if you had said something differently or said something in a way that they approve of. So it's not actually about the copyright. They're just misusing that to stop you from doing something else that you're entitled to, which is to give your opinion on something. I guess I could have made that example a little clearer by saying it's like if I say a game company, say Bungie, go enforces a copyright claim on YouTube against someone who gave their game a bad review, but they don't enforce the copyright against people who give their game a good review. That would be very, very similar in my opinion. So Aim Junkies argues that these copyright infringement allegations are vague and not specific enough to allege a plausible claim. The cheat software itself certainly isn't a copy of Bungie's work, they add. And again, I'm going to assume that's true. I'm going to assume they didn't copy code from the game or something that's included in the tool. So again, how Bungie can even allege this as copyright violation is beyond me. They might be able to allege trademark violation if Aim Junkies is using, say, the Destiny logo or the Bungie logo or whatever in a way that isn't lawful. But how they can allege copyright infringement is beyond me. The cheat maker also highlights another problem with Bungie's copyright claims. The original complaint lists 4 copyright registrations, but 2 of these were first published on November 10th, 2020, well after the cheats were first made available. Based on this finding, it would have been possible for Aim Junkies to use the copyrighted work to create its cheats, as the copyrights had yet been fully registered. Now, this is a strange argument to me, because as I understand it, as soon as you create something, now copyright refers to creative works. So whereas it's different from a patent, which protects an invention or a process for doing something. So I don't know if they mean patents here or what they're actually talking about, but as I understand it, under copyright law, you don't have to register a copyright in order to have something be copyrighted, right? This, you create a piece of artwork and put it online. That it's your copyrighted work. You own the copyright and the rights to that, regardless of whether or not you have registered it anywhere. The registration doesn't have to be in place for the copyright to be valid, unless there's some other circumstances that I'm not aware of. But as far as I know, that's generally how it works. Now, the difficulty is then in proving it, which is the purpose of copyright registration. But the cheat software Bungie complains of in this action was created and distributed long before November 10th, 2020, and therefore could not have been copied from these works. It could have, actually, if the works existed before the copy. I mean, the work has to exist before the copyright can be registered. So I don't think this is an ironclad argument. I'm definitely not a great legal mind by any stretch of the imagination, but logically that doesn't seem to hold up. That said, I don't think it matters as long. They either copied from Bungie's work or they didn't. If they did copy from Bungie's work, like if they took code from the game, or they took, if they stole some sort of software from Bungie's system or something, I don't know. I don't know what they're alleging. I don't know what they actually are alleging that Aim Junkies stole. But if they did steal something, then yeah, shut it down. And actually, Aim Junkies has already taken the Destiny 2 hacks suite down. Holy crap, they were charging $34.95 per month Man, okay. According to Aim Junkies, it is clear that Bungie is trying to use its power to bully others into submission, but it's not having any of it. And you know what? Honestly, I'm glad they're fighting back. Again, I'm cringing at my own words that are coming out of my mouth here, because I can't believe I'm siding with Aim Junkies. But, yeah, they shouldn't take this. If they're not doing anything illegal, so they shouldn't take this sitting down. And these companies need to stop abusing their legal power to bully people. I guess it's just unfortunate that in this case, we have to side with the cheat providers in order to stand up against what a big company is trying to do and abusing its power. It's really sad. It's really sad, and it sucks. And I'm going to stop talking about this now, but I want to know your thoughts down below. Time for memes of the week. This one made me laugh. First rule of programming: if it works, don't touch it. Clearly, this is working as intended. This is by design. I don't know what the problem is here. I don't know how realistic this is in terms of, like, say, a professional, serious programming environment, like serious software developers or whatnot. But I can definitely relate to this in coding various things that I have done, where it's like, wow, this works, but it is just a crappy duct tape solution. I can make it better. Here I am, making it better. Oh, I broke it. It's going to take twice as long to fix it now. Anyway, that one just made me laugh. Stop, I come from the future. You can't shoot Harambe. Why not? You have no idea how much this NFT is worth. Okay. I'm just going, you know what, I could offer some commentary that could get me in trouble there, but yeah, I invest in NFTs. This flame is an NFT. You know, you really could probably sell a bit of fire as NFT. You could sell anything as NFT. I'm going to light a match and sell it as an NFT. Not the actual match itself. That's going to go in the garbage. But the flame that was lit and that burned for several seconds before I blew it out, you know, that's that spark of energy and rapid combustion. I'm going to sell that as an NFT, okay? I mean, and don't miss out. It was a one-of-a-kind flame. You should have seen it. You should have seen it. It, like, sparked, and then it, like, flickered, and as it was burning the wood, it looked amazing. It was just, like, the wood of the match was just blackening smoothly down the shaft. This could be, this could go in a very awkward direction if I, keep talking like that. Anyway, yeah. Anyone want to buy that? Yeah, just talk to me. So this is a segue into the next topic, which is the NFTs topic. And we have now Konami is holding auctions of Castlevania art and music to sell as NFTs, because of course they are. I mean, why wouldn't you do that to celebrate Castlevania's 35th anniversary? Yeah, this is great. This is fantastic. Sega also, although the Sega's CEO, Haruki Satomi, seems a little more hesitant to do this, and claims that if it's perceived as a simple cash grab, basically, by the public, he would like to make a decision not to proceed with it, with introducing their IPs or NFTs into their IPs. There's no concrete plans at this point, it sounds like, but Sega has been experimenting with it, doing some research and development into it. But again, Haruki Satomi says, if it is perceived as simple money making, I would like to make a decision not to proceed. But I mean, what else are you going to perceive it as? I think that to perceive it in any other way is foolishness. I mean, we know we know what's up. We know what's up. And I'm going to get into another statement from the president of Square Enix, where he tries to basically talk about what it is beyond simple money making scheme. But I mean, even if it's not a direct auction like what Konami's doing, what is the point of doing this other than like, I suppose you could make an argument that, okay, we just want to it's a way to get gamers invested and engaged in the game. But really, that seems like an artificial way to do it. Like, make a good game. Make a good game with some longevity, in which, people, you know what? Let's get on to this letter from the president of Square Enix, and I'll commentate as we go here. It's long, so I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I'm gonna select some of the portions of it that specifically relate to blockchain and NFTs. There's some other interesting things in here, but it's just it's an interesting look into the mind of the president of this particular gaming company. All right, so another term that gained quick currency in 2021 was NFT, or non-fungible token. The advent of NFTs using blockchain technology significantly increased the liquidity of digital goods, enabling the trading of a variety of such goods at high prices and sparking conversations the world over. Okay, he's got that right. I see 2021 as not only Metaverse Year 1, but also as NFTs Year 1, given that it was a year in which NFTs were met with a great deal of enthusiasm by a rapidly expanding user base. I mean, I suppose you could say that. I think it's still pretty niche. But, I mean, okay, the user base has definitely expanded. But the enthusiasm probably needs to be mitigated. Okay, he continues. However, we do observe examples here and there of overheated trading in NFT-based digital goods with somewhat speculative overtones. I mean, how could it be anything but speculative? I looked up a definition of speculative trading, and as I understand it, it basically means, you're making a transaction in which you have a high risk of loss that is offset by the potential of a massive gain. And that doesn't seem like here and there examples of this. That seems like that seems like exactly how the system works, working as intended. I mean, is there a high risk of loss when you purchase an NFT? Absolutely. There's no guarantee. There's never a guarantee, but there's a very high risk of loss. It's an incredibly risky endeavor if you're doing it as a financial investment. If you're investing in it because it has some other value to you, like you want to be the only one that owns that doodle of Mario, that the first or let's go with last week's example. Like you want to be the one to own the first text message ever sent. Then for reasons other than financial value, then that's a little different. But if you're looking at it strictly from a financial perspective, then it's very highly speculative. I mean, what are these things worth? Well, they're worth whatever someone's willing to pay. Okay, what's someone going to be willing to pay for this stuff in 10 years? There's no track record. There's no history to rely on. There's no trends that we can look at. I mean, this really could be nothing but a fad. So the risk is incredibly high. And as far as the potentially huge return, well, they're going into it with that expectation, yeah. in many cases. You know, someone who's investing in these things is going into it with that expectation. So anyway, it seems entirely speculative to me. I'm no expert on trading and all this financial stuff, but just as I'm researching as I go here, that seems exactly what it is. So speculative overtones, regardless of the observed value of the content provided. This obviously is not an ideal situation, but I expect to see an eventual right-sizing in digital goods deals as they become more commonplace among the general public, with the value of each available content corrected to their true estimated worth, and I look for them to become as familiar as dealings in physical goods. God, I hope not. Just imagine for a minute. I am at a booth at a convention. It's post-lockdowns, post-COVID, and we can actually have conventions again. So I guess somewhere in 2049 or so. So I'm at say I'm an artist and I'm selling my work, and I have a one of a kind. Something I'm advertising is a one of a kind piece of artwork, and I say, okay, for $100,000, you can own this artwork. But then, and you look at it and you're like, okay, well, maybe that'd be worth it. It's a really cool piece of artwork. But then you're walking around the convention, you see a dozen people with copies of the artwork. And then you come back to my booth and I'm just handing out, copies of this thing, this one of a kind piece of art that I've said you can own for $100,000. And you come up to me and you're like, well, okay, what's the deal? Well, no. What you can buy here, you can buy the NFT. You can buy the NFT of this artwork. And then you are the one who owns it. Yeah, but everyone has a stinking copy of it. What are you buying? Okay, what is that? What are you buying? So someone needs to answer that question, I think, before I can see any benefit in this at all. I mean, look, as I believe I said last week, if it's a way that I'm all for, for small artists being able to monetize their work in ways they couldn't before. I have a hard time being against that in principle. It's really, if they want to sell an NFT of their artwork and someone wants to buy it, go, all power to you. As a transaction between two individuals. What's bugging me, what I'm really dreading, is these big corporations that have already been gouging us for years, and now that governments are starting to crack down on microtransactions and loot boxes, now they're gonna pull this NFT thing, and deliver us a pile of dog shit on a plate, and tell us it's I don't know, chocolate mousse or something. Like that's, I'm dreading this future. Because honestly, when game companies try to improve their model by doing anything other than making better games, it's a shit show. We all know it. It's a garbage fire. All right, so just scrolling down here. So lastly is blockchain games. So I want to read this because this is related. This is related. In fact, I'm not even sure how this is a separate topic, but lastly is blockchain games. Be they single player or online games have traditionally involved a unidirectional flow whereby creators such as ourselves provide a game to consumers to play them. Okay, yeah, and you know what? We like that. By contrast, blockchain games, which have emerged from their infancy and are at this very moment entering a growth phase, are built upon the premise of a token economy, and therefore hold the potential to enable self-sustaining game growth. The driver that most enables such self-sustaining game growth is diversity, both in how people engage with interactive content like games, and in their motivations for doing so. Advances in token economies will likely add further momentum to this trend of diversification. I see the play-to-earn concept that has so many people excited as a prime example of this. So, there's no question, this is my sidebar now, there's no question that letting people create things in your games is a way for people to become personally invested, express their creativity. It can really bolster the life of a game. We see that in games like Skyrim. That as an example, we point to many times. The modding community for that game is undoubtedly one of the hugest reasons that that game is still popular and being released on every frickin' device that comes out. You know, my daughter had to get a calculator for school, and you could play Skyrim on it. I'm kidding, but that's just not far from the truth, basically, to the point where even Bethesda has started memeing that concept. But yes, the point is Skyrim's has had a ton of longevity, and is a lot of it has to do with modding and what people can invest in. You can see it in games like Super Mario Maker from Nintendo. That game, in my opinion, is the only reason why the Wii U, the first Super Mario Maker game, in my opinion, is the only reason why the Wii U could be considered any kind of a success as a console. And these aren't the hugest games in the world, but they have tight, dedicated communities, and you can go on to now Super Mario Maker 2. You will never run out of levels to play. People have made so many, and there are genres. There are entire genres of levels that have been invented by the community. Troll levels, puzzle levels, a whole bunch of various things. New tags that you could apply to levels. These things have been created by the community. They were not created by Nintendo. So, yes, absolutely, these things can engage, people can become more invested, and it contributes to the longevity of the game. But why, how is this benefited by adding a blockchain to it, or adding it to the blockchain? Trying to make these things have monetary value. Like, if you can imagine that every level created in Super Mario Maker 2 is some token on the blockchain. Well, first of all, the more of them you have, the less they're worth. And what is like, if the idea is something that something you create now has a value because it's associated with some blockchain token, and so that blockchain token has some kind of value that inflates. Say you're the greatest Mario level creator in the history of the universe. You make the best levels, and so each one has a higher worth in the ecosystem. Well, what's the benefit of? Why do you need blockchain technology for any of that? Because we can already go and suss that out. You can already go online and see which are the best Mario Maker levels, and you can go online and see which are the highest value Skyrim mods. What is associating these things with a blockchain token do, other than try to capitalize on this false sense of real worth by associating them with some kind of a token? I mean, if you this concept is this concept of playing to earn what? Earn what exactly? Are you able to cash out Like, are you going to be able to cash out? Is Square Enix going to pay me out if I want to trade in my all my NFTs that I've earned from playing their games? Like, are they gonna cash me out? Like, where is the earning coming from, and what's being earned? Like, none of this makes any sense. I mean, it's as far as I can see, these are all systems that all of these attempts to associate NFTs with video games, they're all systems that already exist in games. You know, you can already create unique items in a video game and have them traded, and have each item have a unique trading history. And that item's only important within the ecosystem of that game anyway. So to have it associated with the blockchain, which is external to the game, because someone is someone outside the ecosystem going to want to buy it? Like, that doesn't make sense. This is, if it I'm gonna have to see how they intend to materialize this in some kind of realistic play to earn. But I mean, it sounds like there's just there's massive potential for disaster here, for people to start buying into this, investing their time into these things with some expectation of a return on their time investment that never materializes. Meanwhile, the game company is laughing all the way to the bank. You know, because that's the goal now. I was been watching some videos this week about why are games getting less fun, and it's because, you know, the goal now with a lot of game companies, the key metric is it's not about you sitting down for X number of hours and having a quality experience. It's about keeping you in front of the screen, clicking your mouse and tapping your keyboard for as many hours as they can keep you there. Player engagement, that's what's important. But not engagement just because you're having fun playing. They'll use any means that they can to keep you there. And you know, as I touched on, you know, the whole loot box and microtransaction thing. They'll intention. I have this talk with my kids about their mobile games that they play, and we let them play some mobile games, but we made it very clear to them up front years ago, we are never, ever putting money into an in-app purchase in these games. You know, it's one thing to say buy a game, but we're never doing in-app purchases. And I've never bought a mobile game either. No, that's not true. I bought one that was really good. Really, you know, tried the demo some puzzle game, and it was really good, so I bought the game for like $2 or $3 or whatever. But, you know, I watch my kids sit there playing these games that they enjoy, that are designed to appeal to them, and they'll sit and watch like 30-second ads every 2 minutes, and it drives me crazy. I'm like, should I be even letting them do this? Because it's it's such a time waster, and what kind of a habit is that to be in? You know, it's caused me some introspection as a parent, but they make the game just frustrating enough. You know, they put just enough ads that most people will tolerate, or make the game, you know, deny you progress just enough that you'll be frustrated. No, not frustrated enough to quit out of the game, but frustrated enough that maybe you'll pump some money into it. Which really, when you kind of think about it that way, that seems really off and stupid and backwards. And it is. Because this whole system is garbage. Can we go back to just buying a game and enjoying it? Please. Please. You know, stop with Stop with the artificial inflation of player engagement. But anyway, continuing the statement from Yosuke Matsuda. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I realize that some people who play to have fun and who currently form the majority of players have voiced their reservations toward these new trends. Yes, absolutely. Lots to be reserved about. And understandably so. However, I believe that there will be a certain number of people whose motivation is to play to contribute, by which I mean to help make the game more exciting. Okay, yes, but we already have that. This is what I'm talking about. We already have that. It's called modding. It's called creativity. It's called, like, Animal Crossing New Horizons, which my wife and daughters are, just super obsessed with that game. They love, creating and visiting other people's islands, inviting people to their, like, this already exists. He says here, traditionally this gaming has offered no explicit incentive to this latter group of people who are motivated strictly by inconsistent personal feelings as goodwill. By such inconsistent personal feelings as goodwill and volunteer spirit. You know what? No, make it a rewarding experience. People will do this. Skyrim, more than a decade old. People are still, people are modding that game. You make a game where people can create content. They are creating content in it. They love it. People love doing this. If it's a game they enjoy and they can create content in it, games with level editors were my favorite thing as a kid, and we didn't even have the internet to share that, to share what I made around. It was just the opportunity to be creative. People are going to jump at that because it's rewarding in and of itself. Now, I'm not against people making some sort of financial gain from it. I'm not against modders being paid for their work if it's really good and someone's willing to pay for it or support them financially, by donations or whatever. The same thing could be said about other kinds of content creation, just creating videos as we do here at the Triple S League, or any kind of people making art online. It's like, well, shouldn't you do it just for the love of doing it? Well, if you should do it for the love of doing it, but there's nothing wrong with earning some tangible financial benefit from it as well. Totally not against that, but this guy seems to be flipping the traditional argument on its head and saying, okay, people shouldn't just be motivated by wanting to do it, but they should be motivated by the fact that they're actually earning something, potentially, maybe, sort of, that exists but doesn't really exist. This fact is not unrelated to the limitations of existing user-generated content. User-generated content has been brought into being solely because of individuals' desire for self-expression and not because of any explicit incentive existed to reward them for their creative efforts. I see this as one reason there haven't been many major game-changing content that were user-generated, as one would expect. No? Entire new games and genres have come out of mods for games. And there's pretty, I don't know if some of the nuance is being lost in translation. I would imagine this is translated from Japanese, or if he did write this in English is not his first language, so some of the nuance may be, but this sentence makes no sense. Like, this is just not true. This is just not true. If we're going to talk about why there hasn't been game-changing user-generated content, which again I think is not a true statement, but if that is the case, I think that it's more likely that we could blame the fact that too many companies have been against things like modding and against people playing games in ways that aren't approved. Not all companies, but some for sure. However, with advances in token economies, users will be provided with explicit incentives, thereby resulting in not only in greater consistency in their motivation, but also creating a tangible upside to their creative efforts. I mean, you're going to get people in there that are just mass producing content in the hopes of earning something. Again, is that necessarily bad? I mean, it's what happens on the internet. I mean, for sure. You have your creators who are passionate about what they make, and then you just have the people that just mass produce whatever they think is going to sell. At quality concerns being secondary in that case, but it's just interesting that he seems to want be maybe saying he wants this. Well, no, he's definitely speaking in favor of this kind of an economy, but is this going to benefit the user-generated content ecosystem? I realize that I've already said I'm not against the idea of people earning financially or financially benefiting from their user-generated content, and I'm not. But I feel like there's a false inflation of it when you have this attached to the blockchain and NFT tokens, when really I don't see why you can't do all of this without NFTs. Like, what's the reason this has to be associated with NFTs in order for any of this to happen? If somebody knows, please drop a comment down below. I want to know. I want to know if there's a reason all this stuff has to be attached to the blockchain. If there's some tangible reason why this would be better than the status quo, then I want to know. I want to hear about it. So that's going to do it for the show today. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. If you did stick around to the end, I really appreciate it. I know the show went a little bit long. Hope that you were engaged and interested throughout the whole thing. I do want to hear your comments about all of the topics we talked about today. Also, your comments on the format of the show. With it being pre-recorded instead of live, we do miss out on that live stream interaction. Again, still playing with the format of this to try and just deliver the best show possible. But I of course want to do whatever the community is most interested in is what I want to do. There were a number of factors this week that led me to pre-record again instead of live stream, including just some obligations that I had today, in addition to what I said at the beginning of the show, just about wanting to, push, make the best product possible. But I do want to hear your opinions on it. The show is for you. So you can talk to me in the feedback room on the Discord server or in the comments section below. But also, I want to hear your opinions about all of these topics. I want to hear your thoughts, and that can also be done in the comments or on the Discord server. Of course, do subscribe and slam that like button roughly or gently, whatever kind of mood you're in, and I will anticipate hopefully seeing you next week on next week's show. Thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you again very soon.